All right, back in the game. I know a lot of people are scared right now, Ed. A lot of people are scared. Where are you? And are people out there terrified?
Well, so in terms of where I'm at, I mean, I haven't seen anything in Portugal to suggest that people are freaking out, but I do know what my girlfriend does. She books all kinds of trips in different parts of the world, and a lot of her business goes to Europe. And now people are freaking out because everyone's talking about, oh, it landed in Italy, and then now it's in. I guess they had some confirmed cases in Barcelona and the UK.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where the at risk population, the elderly and kids and everything, they're still at risk, and people like us will just get sick for a few days. But the problem is, the sensationalist media hypes everything up and makes everything worse and crazy, and then that causes people to do things that they would not normally do, and then next thing you know, you have an economic recession from a disease.
Well, let's do this first. For the people who are just tuning in, if this isn't to your liking, that's fine. Make sure you subscribe anyway and click the thumbs up because I talk about three things on this channel. One, I tend to talk about a lot of world events, like today, talking about the money market. Money is my favorite subject, by the way. If you go back in my YouTube channel, if you just type in "money is everything," you'll find a lot of stuff. I actually have a money thread. I also do a lot of talk about international issues. My friends tend to be people who have seen the world, people who are going to see the world, people who have large opinions about the world, and I also, well, quite frankly, I just like to talk about a lot of things and have fun with these world issues, with these social issues. And today, one of the people who come around know Ed by now, but I was told to always treat everything like it was the very first time somebody watched. So I'm going to share
Oh,
something. I'm going to share the same story I always share. When you subscribe to Ed Lattimore's Twitter feed, who really is a heavyweight boxer, physicist, and best-selling author, don't drink anything while you're reading because he has this nasty habit of throwing these jokes in. I spit on my computer once, like I have a keyboard condom now. It's a little latex that protects in case I'm accidentally reading Ed's comments and I laugh at something that, quite frankly, shouldn't be laughing at. So I want everybody. That's the good thing about the internet. We can all be friends. Make sure you go subscribe to him. He's a great guy. But we're here to talk about the coronavirus and the investment market. And I want to start out on this foot with the coronavirus. Like, I'll go the opposite direction. You said, well, those of us that are healthy and strong may not necessarily be susceptible to it. And by the way, hello to Zero the Infinite, and as always, Reigning Woman, who is amazing for showing everybody who I am and what I do. We're going to go check on that later. Here's how I look at the coronavirus before I even talk about the money. If this is the zombie plague outbreak, I'm okay. No, I want to be clear. Brother Ed, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. You know why? I lead a great life. It's fun. If I feel like the zombies are at my door, I won't have any hesitation about just jumping out the window because I don't have any regrets to look back and say, oh, I wish before the zombie outbreak I had done this. I travel the world. I lift the weights. I bed the beautiful women. I get to do these things. That's why I encourage people to do it. Through this channel, I've introduced myself to a lot of people who said, hey, I want to talk to you about what it is that you do. Uh-oh. Damn it. I sent out a mass invitation in one of my groups and I forgot she was in it. And so she clicked in. It's a good thing she's muted herself. Preventative medicine. Come on, Ruby, you can do it. Press the button, Ruby. Press the button.
No, what happened was the actual sound, your sound was coming through like one of my outside speakers, so I didn't want it to be echoing because I pay attention, Mr. You only got here from a group invite. You see how some people treat me, i.e. just him? Yeah, no.
So
apparently I'm a glutton for punishment.
keep coming back. Well, in any case, You want to talk about being glutton for punishment? I wouldn't have any reason to punish you if you could, at the bare minimum, keep your word.
I try. Okay? I try.
Well, folks, you want to see something funny? How many times have I allowed Ruby up in the big house with us? And she said, you know what, guys? Next week, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make sure I do some more interesting content because I do this. I do a YouTube channel and then I say, oh, everybody, go look at Classic Ruby's channel. It used to be worth subscribing to. Notice how she's getting her subscriber count.
My subscriber count my subscriber count goes up because people see me on the panels and then subscribe to my channel. Thank you. It's coming. Everyone is coming.
What did Ronald Reagan say? Trust but verify.
Listen, I do new content all week, every week, just not on my own channel. That's all.
A girl deep throating a cucumber.
You know what the funny thing is I was legit. I did. Yeah, no, I did. I have a lot of really great video in there. But no, I actually was literally getting myself prepared to make my own video, right? To actually work on my own content. Cucumber? No, actually, this one wasn't. Actually, that was all about the cucumber challenge. That chick specifically went viral, amongst other things.
That's a challenge? That's crazy.
You didn't know about the cucumber challenge? Where have you been?
Oh, man, what?
We're not those kind of people, Ed. That's why we don't know about things like that.
That's insane, man.
It is really a shame, and that's what is basically addressing this kind of hoe culture and hot girl summer culture that is taking over, and that even good girls are finding appealing, because it's not as appealing now to stay and be the good girl and whatever, because that's not what's getting people married. That's not what is getting people positive attention anymore. So I was addressing this and talking about female self-esteem and some of these issues, and using these as like
there's such a thing as a good girl.
Oh, there is. There absolutely is.
That's some bullshit, smoke and mirrors that people use to pull over men. Anyone, man or woman, will do the right thing in the wrong situation or the wrong thing in the right situation. And some men just specialize in being that wrong thing in the right situation. But that's a different conversation.
Oh, yeah, okay. You know what? Listen, I'm totally down for this conversation. Let's do it. Let's do it up.
So what I was saying is that if this is the coronavirus, let's not talk about the money. I said if this is the coronavirus, it's okay. If this is the zombie outbreak and this is the last days, I'm okay with that because I got to live this amazing life of, doing all things I want to do. And if I felt the zombies were outside my door, I would probably live stream right up until I jumped out the window because I wouldn't have any regrets. I don't have to sit there and cry and say, oh, I wish I had another day. But let's look at the other direction. Okay. And have both of you made your zombie plans?
Nah, man, I don't have a plan. Hopefully get to some guns and shoot some people and take their stuff. I just, I never think about that kind of thing, man. I should have, I shouldn't because it's got a less than a 5% chance of happening. So in my expected value calculation for living, I just kind of let that one slide. Kind of like how I don't think about what I'm gonna do if the plane crash. Like, sit, man.
Yeah.
So let's do this. The first thing I want people to go back and look at real quick, because it's not about zombies. When people like me who are preppers talk about zombies, we're not talking about actual zombies. We're talking about what happens if something bad happens. Go back and check this out. This is one of the most informative things I've done with Brother Frank.
That's important. I do believe now that depending on where you live, there's a much greater than 5% chance of that kind of thing happening for sure.
Yeah. But let's do it this way. What if this coronavirus and the effect it's having on the investment market is just what the doctor ordered to get some of the people watching this right now to get off their butts and say, I've never really had the courage or the information to look at the investment market, but I'm looking at it now because it's going down. And what can that do for you? Now, I want to tell you there are two different ways of looking at this, because have you seen what the investment market has been doing?
Oh no, I'm absolutely clueless. Another area that I'm clueless. That one is not by willful ignorance, so that is very much just with no shit. Man, whoa, that is Well, I mean that's a drop of. Now I do know enough to know that's a drop of 2,000 points. After 20, it was almost 30,000. That looks more like a correction than anything, right?
No, that's an enormous drop off.
Yeah.
Enormous drop off.
But what I mean is that the point is dropping off from. Isn't that a bit higher than usual?
That drop? No, it's not. And here's what I'm going to say. Right now, a lot of people can use this as an opportunity to get their financial house in order, right? Because everybody believes that you have to be rich to buy an investment, or that rich is a real thing. Rich isn't a real thing. It's just a matter of haves or have-nots. Because here's what I want you to notice. Ready? This is the past week, right? But
yeah,
this is the past year. This is as much data as we can pull. What do you notice?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Like, look at how high that is relative to even 10 years ago or 5 years ago. That's incredible.
I'm glad you said the magic word 10 years ago. What we know about the investment market is that the stock market generally goes up by 10% that I can see. The problem is we don't know if some years it's going to go down 30 and up 40, but time is your friend. For the people who have been looking at a time to put some money away for later, even if you just look at it and say, I want to put it away for 5 years, and we're never going to talk numbers. Am I making sense to say to people, maybe you could just put, if my strict guidelines from when I was a financial professional, if you don't have any children, 20% of your income. If you have children, 10. And find some kind of a mutual fund or something fundamental in cryptocurrency to put it in just to take advantage of buying a dip. Do you guys invest?
No, I don't at the moment. And here's my thought process on it, because is that I think the intention is solid and is fine, and mentally is in the right place. I think emotionally, perhaps it is slightly out of touch. I think the average person, and by average I mean the 25th to 75th percentile, where most humans exist, certainly in the wealthiest nation in America, will go like $40,000 to $75,000 a year. They're not really thinking about that, because the day-to-day struggle is so real. I mean, like the ability to plan for the long term is very much a luxury, because there's the day-to-day living. They're not really thinking about, let me bond and dip, because that's a thing. Like you're not incorrect in your thinking. I don't think that, but I think it misses one piece of financial advice, which is at a certain point people have to make sure they have access to even deal with, access to go invest and feel comfortable enough to go do it. Now, changing habits.
You just used the dirty word. You said access to invest. There's no
excess, not access. Excess.
But there's no such thing as extra money. There's no such thing as extra money.
Sure there is, because there can be a deficit if you've never been poor, right? Like, think about it this way. You can definitely have more bills than you have the ability to pay. That's not, and even if you are just breaking even, the variances, things go wrong. One month you suddenly got to go to the hospital, or you need some new shoes, or you get robbed, or things like that. There definitely can be extra, because there's a deficit situation that can occur within the variances that happen, even if and that's assuming you break even each month.
So am I wrong by saying, let me back up before I even go down that rabbit hole. Ruby, please come in like a cavalry. Tell me that you're investing somewhere, something.
Okay, so I will tell you.
I totally forgot. I have acorns. It takes like $100 a week. I just forgot.
And again, we're not here to talk numbers. To some people, 100 is little. Some people, 100 is a lot. But I tell people to look at percentages. And let's go back, Ruby.
Okay, so the way that I currently am doing, and I've always done up until this point in my time, is I don't invest, like, let's say, like in stocks and bonds and stuff like that. I save. Right. So, for example, I have a high interest savings account. It's something that we have in Canada. Everyone can have one. Right. And I mean, it is significantly higher interest, non-taxable, and whatever you put in there. It's really a great way if you just wanted to put your money somewhere, it never touch it, it never moves, but it does actually grow a fair amount of interest. The high interest savings account is the way to go. So, I tried to put at least a little something. It could be something really small per paycheck. You try to put, like, even if it's like $5 or $10 every week, that kind of stuff adds up. So that, when I have been like in jobs and stuff like that, where you have the opportunity for them to pull money directly out of your account, and I guess they kind of invest it, right? Like they pull it out and then they're, using stocks and bonds and whatever for you to ultimately get a little bit of a return on your money. But like when I'm working, I'll do stuff like that. But no, I don't do like stocks and bonds types of investing. I'm more
what
do
I'm looking
saving.
at on the screen reasonable? Is that a reasonable representation?
No, because that is different than the high interest savings account that each Canadian is allowed to have. Like there's a high interest savings account that your individual bank can offer you, but then there's like a high interest savings account that every Canadian can have, which is it's a little bit higher than that. I mean, it's not like 100, it's not like, 30% or something, but it's a little bit higher than that.
Because
And everyone can only have one.
I mean, I know you're not a professional in that, but can you give me a round number that you've seen?
Higher than 2%. But I honestly, I don't remember. All I remember about this is each person can only have one. Like you can have as many bank accounts on the planet as you want, but you can only have one of these. Right. It's actually a special kind of account and all Canadians can have one. Right. So I use that, and that's like, you put money in there, you never touch it. And then I have my regular savings account. That's where I save up for things that I want to do now. Right. Like, let's say, I don't know, let's go to Wasaga Beach and whatever. So, you put a little bit of money towards that fund, so that way, you save up a few $100s, like, okay, yeah, let's take $100 and go to Wasaga. That's kind of like, what that savings account is for. So I have a regular savings account, the high interest savings account.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing. A savings account is not necessarily a bad thing, but when we look at how money behaves, I would suggest for anybody watching, and if anybody watching wants a copy of any of the books that I have dealing with financial issues, let me know. I'm an open book. I'm here for you. I would always say the fundamental principle is going to be with something like, and I don't know if anyone here has read this book. It's a book you've heard me talk about. It's something that if anybody is interested, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason.
Yeah, I read that.
It's a fundamental book. It's a fundamental book for financial freedom. Let me go back up into the. Oh, look, Ruby has a fan.
I know, I responded already.
What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher James Young says, will cryptocurrency explode with the next financial meltdown? First, I always want to tell everybody, I want to self-disclose, I am a Bitcoin person. I love cryptocurrency. It is one of the things that has helped me achieve a little bit of the freedoms that I enjoy. Will it explode? Who's to say? Because there are two principles that I want to talk about here with money, and I don't know if either of you two have dealt with it. One, well, first you got to have a plan. When something in your economy goes up or goes down really big, it can't shake you off of your course. You need to be able to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to take this and not let it shake me. I'm going to take this and I am just going to go forward with the plan that I already have. One of the ways people plan is there's a phrase here I'm going to pull up for you. Let's see. It's called buy the dip. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that. Ruby, can you read that for us?
Buy the dip refers to purchasing an asset after it has declined in price. Buying the dips has different contexts and different odds of working out depending on the situation in which it is utilized. Some traders may say that they are buying the dips if an asset is in a long-term strong uptrend. Now,
here's why I kind of disagree with buy the dip, because it tells people to kind of sit like, you ever see people playing double dutch and you're kind of, they kind of waiting. I can't play double dutch. they're kind of waiting to jump in. That's what buying the dip does. It says, well, when it goes down, I'm going to jump in to get more for my more bang for my buck. Right now, that's what a lot of my friends are doing. Everybody else is just terrified. The streets are running red with blood, and that's when the wolves come out.
Oh, okay, hold on. So I figured it out. So mine is 3.2%. My tax, like the savings interest rate. The thing about them though is they're tax-free savings accounts. So like you won't get taxed. I guess like when you have savings accounts, because of the interest, whatever, there's like a tax that can be applied when you're taking out the money. Whereas in these are tax-free and you can do whatever you want with the money, save as much as you want, take out as much. You don't get taxed when you do. And everyone can have one. Like you can't have multiple of these accounts. You can only have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's amazing that you're in one of those small group of people who do save a little bit of money in some investments. I would say you might want to consider learning how the investment market works. I'm not here to tell anybody today is the day to jump into the investment market, but what I am saying is for your friends who have been saving a little bit in the investment market right now, when they see what's happening, they've got a decision to make, but they understand the decision to make. They understand that when the streets are running red with blood and everybody else is losing money, right now there's a guy who shouldn't be investing. He could have only been able to afford to put his money in and out for a year. That guy's got to run. And who's going to be able to save him? Remember New Jack City when he said, "We lay down with fleas and guess who's going to be there to scratch the hell out of you?" You're going to guys like me. You're going to say, "What? Listen, got this investment. It's not been doing too good. It's kind of going south on me. And you're gonna be switching back and forth like a junkie." And I'm gonna say, "Oh, wow." All right, man. Well, listen. Well, I mean, I know you bought it for $1,000. How much do you want for it? And I'm like, all right, well, listen. Because it's UY, I'm gonna give it to you for $950. And I'm gonna say, ooh, $950. Oh, wait, did it go down a little bit more? Man, I don't know what to tell you. I can't get on that train for $950. How about $8? And they look at you and they get that insulted look at, oh man, it might go down a little bit more depending on how. I mean, if you don't want the money, that's fine. That's when you take out that money, like that with cash. You give that.
See, like, here's my thing, and this is why I don't. It's not like it was I don't do it because I don't understand. But for me, okay. So when I was younger, right, I heard about the fact that, the way people play lottery on average, people who are doing the lotto tickets and scratch tickets, if they just save that money, starting from the time they started working, by the time they're ready to retire, they'd be millionaires just from saving the money. And they get no interest, no nothing on it, just let it sit there. But the fact of the matter is, instead, they gamble away 50, 100, 200, who knows how many dollars a month on hoping that one day this will turn into $1 million for them. Whereas in that whole entire time, they could have just been putting that money away. I'm okay with not getting more money than I earned. I am. I'm not.
I don't understand the grammar. I am okay with what?
Getting more money than I earned so some people want to get more money than they earn. That's why you invest into things, right? I put $500 in, I want $1,000 back or whatever it is, right? I'm okay with putting $500 away and only getting $500 back. I'm not a gambling person.
I apologize. Just slow down for me for a minute. You're okay with putting $500 in and getting $500 back.
Right.
So respectfully, I'm going to show you where you may want to reconsider.
But I'm trying to explain to you that I'm not a gambling person. I have no interest. Hold on. I have zero interest in getting more money back than I earned. I actually have no interest in that. And the reason why is because however small you're going to tell me the risk is that I'm going to lose my money, I don't like the idea of losing my money, period. I'm not a gambling person. And so because I'm not a gambling person, I'd rather put $500 away and know that that $500 still exists at the end of the day and I get it back. That's how I am.
And I understand that. And I'm not here to change your mind, but let's look at it for the people who are also watching. I want to give them another way. By the way, hello, Green Machine, brother Art, and Chris. I'm going to get to this question.
Hello.
So here's where we are. When you put 500 in, and I'm going to pretend I am the stereotypical evil mustache banker, although my mustache is the aggressive, not mean mustache. You give the bank that 500 and you say, listen, I just want my 500 back next year when I retire, which sounds like a reasonable request, and it is. The problems come when what people don't see is what the bank is going to do. They're going to take that 500 and they are going to look at the time they're going to be able to have it, like a bond or even your bank account. They're going to say, if I take this 500 and I use that 500 to make 500 and make it turn into, let's say, something modest, 700, right? That 500 turned into 700. They should, ethically, banking isn't ethical, they should have to compensate you for the privilege of holding your 500. So what investments do, it's a way for the average person to say, you know what, you're using my money to build your company, to make better hot dogs, to sell to more people. You're going to get more money and a bigger brand off of it. I want some of that hot dog money back. Now, I know I'm not going to get all of it because I'm not marketing and research. I'm not your sales guys, but you're using my money. And I don't care if it's only the $500 I put in from last year. I want a little bit more. Ed, am I making sense? I don't want to go.
No, that makes sense enough to me. It's a reasonable explanation. It just, I would have probably, because that explanation doesn't what's the word I want? Address that explanation doesn't address like what I guess her issue is, what investing or not investing, or perhaps that angle in particular. The one I would have went with is discussing the role of inflation and how you don't actually get $500 back. You get more like $350 back.
This is why. Well, let's do one. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think up how you want to do this while I do a few things. One, I want to go Christopher James Young, are buying the dip in short trading only for the pros. What's a professional? You don't have to be a millionaire to be a professional. You just have to be someone who's well-read and only do it with a little bit until you understand what you're doing. Now, are buying the dip and short trading fundamental principles? Well, who's to say? What I can tell you from my 9 years of working as a financial professional, I could teach your average high school class of 17-year-olds in one semester all the principles of investing. There's a reason it's not taught in high school. It's not as complicated as people want you to believe it is. It really isn't. It's not. I promise you it's not. I've been there. I've done that. I've sat with clients and sketched it out for them. And the question always becomes, if these principles are things that we can put in practice with $100 until we understand how they work, how come they didn't teach us this in high school? Nobody wants you to know you have more choices with your money in high school. That's not how capitalism works. Good afternoon, Dion. Green Machine. Iori 666, which is we got to talk about that name one day. You have to explain that to me.
But yeah, I'll say this again, right? It comes down to, right? There are some people, for example, if you're the type of person who plays lotto or bingo or whatever anyway, so you're okay with risking your money and there being even a really good shot that you're going to lose it, by all means, you should be investing. It's something that makes sense for people who are okay losing their money. I'm just not, right? Like, I was never okay with the concept of bingo. I played exactly one time ever. My grandmother was like obsessed, right? And I went and I played with her one time to make her happy. But for me, I wasn't happy with the idea of losing my money. I would rather just keep the $20 than maybe win $100 and mostly probably lose it. Like, it didn't work. It didn't work in my mind for me. I want the money. I like the concept of the security of knowing that my money is safe no matter what. Now, that being said, if my financial position changes, whereas in I have $1,000 that, you know what, if it disappeared, if someone burned it, I wouldn't miss it. And my future wouldn't miss it either because, you know, I've got a 401k, I've got, you know, other things set up. I would then be okay with getting into the investment world because at that point I would be secure and stable enough. Me, my husband, our children, our life, our future, our retirement would all be stable enough that I would be willing to then risk future money, and take this chance. Now, would it be a great chance? Would it be like, oh man, I wish I had started this 20 years earlier? Maybe, but I still prefer the sure thing and the sure security over the risk.
Wait, I think you've got feedback coming into your microphone. I don't know. Can you turn off the volume?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, turn. I think we're getting feedback.
Can you turn the stereo off? Just turn it off. Hit the power.
Testing.
Did that stop it? That stop it?
Yep.
Is anybody getting feedback?
Yeah, I'm hearing the echo.
What about now?
Testing.
Let's try.
I don't know. It's just weird. Is the phone? Are you at your phone?
Yeah.
Because
It's just like it's our own voices echo back to us as we're speaking.
I'm not hearing any of that.
Is the phone?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Well, okay. Well, let's do this.
Is that better?
Is that better? Yes.
Yes.
Much
Yes.
better.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's amazing. Okay.
I just took the headphones off. Sorry, guys.
When the headphones were the problem the whole time. Okay.
Right.
Hey, I'm a big fan, man.
Well, let's do this.
LAR.
Let's do this. I want to, instead of going all the way back to the beginning, let's take it from where we are. Frost, LAR, I want to tell you what I said, because Rudy and I just had a few minutes of back and forth. Where I look at investments, we talked about her unwillingness to lose money, which I totally understand. And we use the fictional $500. And Ruby, correct me if I'm wrong in misrepresenting what you're saying. She said, I'd rather keep the 500 in the bank than risk losing it in some kind of investment, because we talked about how right now, and I don't know if you two had seen it earlier, well, the Dow is just crashed, right? I say, and if we look at this today, that's today. The problem is this is lifetime.
Right.
She thought of me as talking to her about it's worth the risk. I want to go over 2 points, a couple of points actually, but one of them is over a long term, the risk drops off precipitously. You don't invest money that you can't have away for a while. But two, when you put money into a bank, and this is where I was going to go, and then Ed's going to go into the way interest plays in it. When you put your money into the bank, first, maybe the banking rules are different in Canada. Maybe the banks are more secure. For the majority of us who are Americans, banks are in no way, shape, or form going to secure your money. But that's not the real issue I have. The issue I have is from the years of working as a financial professional, if I give these banks $500 of my money and I say my only responsibility I'm going to give you is to give it back to me in 10 years or when I retire, I'm being cheated, because they're going to take that 500 and invest it in their rental property or hot dog sales or whatever it is, make more money, get bigger, and I'm entitled to a small piece of that success, even though I wasn't the hot dog salesman or the hot dog inventor or the rental property manager. It was my capital that helped him. That's what an investment is. And I want to first see if Brother Ed said he wanted to, and then we're gonna introduce you two. But Brother Ed said he wanted to talk to us about the way that interest also played a role in degrading the value of simply holding our money.
Yeah, well, the whole idea I had is if you wanted to discuss, like, well, why you should invest or whatever, is that over time, as more money, trickles into the market and more people are born and have more of it, that makes the available supply worth less. Plus we just print more, and so the only way to kind of protect yourself against that is to put your money in a position to grow along with the economy, and your bank account is just going to save it, and the rate of inflation is going to outpace whatever gains you get in a typical savings account, which is why a lot of people put their money in like real estate, because that's pretty much, that's the closest to a guarantee of having your money at the very least not lose value. And even still, that doesn't happen. But that's one of the things we think about and talk about, because $1,000 today is not what $1,000 was even 10 years ago, and certainly not what it was 15 years ago. There's more money in the market, more people, it's worth less. The bond power of $1,000 even in 1990 is now probably down to realistically 550, 560, somewhere in that range, maybe a little higher. So that's one of the things you want to I think we should think about. Certainly the thing they got me, my girl's brother-in-law has sat down with me, had a really interesting conversation, and that's what got me on using Acorns, because now I don't have to think about it. It just goes, and it's not just going into a savings account. It's ideally, hopefully, at the end of the day, growing. And so when I get that money out, it'll have it. It may say, "Oh, you saved $1 million," but all that means I probably realistically have the purchasing power of like 180,000 today, and that's just what I think we should think about when it comes to investing. But I am by no means an expert on these things. I just look at kind of both sides of it. There's the one side where, like, a lot of people are dealing with the day to day, and that money in the hand is certainly worth a lot more than it will be in the future, because the stress is today and you got to deal with that. But on the other hand, it's like, well, if you have a little bit where you won't miss it and you can train yourself not to miss it, yeah, you should probably stack it somewhere and just forget about it a little bit, that you can forget, because if you're putting away 50% of your paycheck and the market dips, you're not going to have a good emotional state. But if you're only putting away 5%, whatever, it's like, oh shit, I lost 5%. I mean, that sucks that you lost it, but it's not gonna ruin your day.
Things to different people. I want to do one thing, because percentages matter to me now. I want everybody who's watching this to do two things. One of them, make sure you click subscribe. I'm at 959 subscribers. Yay, I'm proud of myself. And I'm glad I did it slow. But I'm always looking to introduce more people to getting the updates, because having these great conversations about the three things that I talk about most being world travel, not just my life in Brazil, social issues that we talk about, and my favorite, money and finance. It's not always cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. This is how we get to do it. The second thing I'll tell everyone, make sure you share this on Facebook. Make sure if I've tagged you, make sure you share it. Make sure you say, hey, this is interesting. Now, if people like it, great. Most do. Some won't, but it's how we help each other grow. Now, in order of appearance, I want to go back and I want to introduce everybody. I don't know, when was the last time you were here, Miss Frost?
I think the last time was when we talked about the tiny house stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That was back during the summer.
Bam. So she got a little YouTube famous because she lives in a tiny house, and I'm not saying that to be funny, but she educated a lot of people.
Oh, no kidding!
Tiny houses.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Wow. Me too. I've watched a few shows on that. Wow. Okay. Damn.
Hey, Blake. I'm gonna
catch
pan
that.
house.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so hold on. I'll just show you guys, because I'm just standing in my front yard. We're outside building, and Watt asked me to come on the show, so that's my house.
That's so cool, man.
Can you make her screen bigger so we can see it a little bit more?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh.
That's dope.
Wow, okay. It almost looks like a dollhouse. Like, it's like they look so small.
There's a couple houses here. And I live on 32 acres in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee.
Get out.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. There's a waterfall. We were out here working on building some features for the summer, because we have festivals in the summertime.
Wow.
I work from home, so.
Very cool.
When you were like growing up
in the United States, huh?
When you were growing up, like, did you live in houses or did you live in apartments? Like, what was the transition like before this?
I grew up in Chattanooga, in a house. So
okay, lots of space. Then.
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of space. Chattanooga is like Chattanooga Choo Choo. I don't know. It's a town on like a river town in Chattanooga. I mean, in Tennessee. So
that's amazing. I've seen it.
I would go over there, but my toddler like took off his pants and he's like digging holes over there.
Yeah, maybe just got that.
I don't
mean,
need that
it's a little.
imagery. I hope he's digging a hole to put toys in and not the reason he took off his pants.
No, he decided he was going to be Transformers, and it doesn't matter what time of year it is. He jumps in the creek all the time.
Okay.
I think he got his pants full of water and shoes and pants full of water and decided to take them off. It's a country life, man.
Aw, that's cute.
So going back, let me back up. Has the coronavirus made an issue of anything down there where you guys are?
Who are we speaking? Who are you asking?
You.
Oh no. I mean, the flu through here is pretty, there's more regular influenza than there is. The coronavirus hasn't really had that much of an impact because, I mean, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 people die from the regular flu every year, and that many people hasn't died from the coronavirus.
14,000 died last year. They were drawing a comparison to that to kind of calm people down, but people never look at facts; they just headlines.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like a much ado about nothing again, because like there's always some kind of sickness everywhere, but like that's not a pandemic worth being worried about. I don't think. I think it's a distraction.
In what context?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Every time there's something else that the news is obsessing about, there's some craziness going on in the background. So to me, it just seems like more propaganda machine. Boots on the ground is like, that's not affecting anything.
Well, I mean, people in China from my life there that said it really is affecting things, that it really is a big issue there. And the problem we have, and I say this having lived in China, you can't guarantee any government's ever going to give you the real truth, but China even less so. And the problem they have is that when the people understand you're going to consistently lie to them, they don't believe anything, even the things the government to try to help.
Right. I mean, because it's created a shortage. My nurse friends say that it's created a shortage for just those paper masks that they use at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were sending them, most of the manufacturers are sending all those to the Asian countries. So other than that, like in the hospital, so that, I mean, it's kind of had that effect here as far as medical supply transfer, because there's not as much stuff because like we're in our regular flu season here.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sorry, but we look at these every single time one of these avian flus, the coronaviruses come around. We act like, God, it's the second coming of the Black Plague. And we ignore the fact that in some of these cases, more people died from the regular flu that year than from the pandemic flu. And we act like somehow or another this is so much worse than the regular flu. The regular flu kills a lot of people. Like, you know what I mean? These avian flus and whatever, sure, they're a mutation, but most of these viruses that we're talking about here, they are mutations that have touched animals. And like, I mean, we're acting like this coronavirus is something that is so unique and special and different. We've never seen anything like it. That's every single time we see a coronavirus. Every single time this isn't the first one that we've panicked over, thought everyone was going to die, and this is pandemic, that's it. And yet, what I've seen from the news is that actually most countries controlled it really, really well, and so it hasn't really spread anywhere else. So why are we acting like somehow or another it's taken over all of the Western Hemisphere and everyone's dropping dead from it? Like, that's not what's really happening in real life. So I agree with you. I think it's a distraction.
Well, get this. So far, 16,000 people have died and 280,000 have been hospitalized during the 2019-2020 season. So you're right. Lots of people have been dying. But I want to always turn it back towards the money issue, and I always want to make sure I get everybody a chance with the microphone. LAR is such a patient man.
Hey, man, it's been a long day. I could be patient.
LAR is one of those people that I can depend on. Let me tell you what LAR did for me. He taught me that not every time I go online by myself do I need to talk for 3 hours. He will drop a hot 15 He'll give you a 15 minutes something to think about and go home and go right about his day. He doesn't have to get all upset about it because I'm all emotionally invested and sweating at the camera. He's just Here's what
Hey,
we say.
I just want to say, man, I'm a fan of your videos, man. I watch a lot of the stuff you put out, man. It's good shit.
Thanks. I know who you are. I remember names. I remember names. You know,
Oh, okay.
I'm better with I'm better with nicknames, but I remember names. I mean,
So I want everybody, listen, YouTube is a place where we can all be friends. It's not like the old days where your 8 o'clock show had to be better than somebody else's 8 o'clock show. Oh, listen, I'm old enough to remember getting into heated arguments, watching my mother and her sisters decide to call each other and cuss each other out. Well, how come you didn't watch it? Because I was watching other just. But
That's
I want
so funny
to go by. Let me do this because you have been so patient, dear brother LAR. Watch this. Let's see. Can I do that for you? Tell them who you are. And what.
I'm the bald-headed dude in the camera right now who is dead tired, but I'm gonna try to bring as the best amount that I can to the situation. So, you know, for the coronavirus, personally, what I think is it's a money issue because this country owes China so much money, they might try to flake out of import-export a little bit. Y'all might be getting us sick. We said we gave y'all all these products to send to us. We owe y'all money, but y'all might be trying to kill us because we don't want to pay you right now. So I think that could be an issue. You got it.
I was gonna say I have noticed that because I do some drop ship stuff, and because of the trade thing with China, everything it slowed all of the shipments way down by like 2 weeks.
Can you wait? Now, for the people who don't know, tell them what drop shipping is. Give them a 30 second.
30 seconds of drop shipping is buying stuff at discount and reselling it online to people. They just order, like you have a Amazon shop set up, and you can sell stuff like, so when it says get it cheaper from other sellers, you're buying from drop ship people, and they're sending it to you sometimes quicker than the Amazon fulfillment can but like sites like Wish, where you can get bulk items from China at a steep discount, and then people resell or make jewelry making, whatever thing. And it's put a delay. It's been doing that since like October-ish. But now there's like announcements up on all the shipping carriers that like shipments from China may be delayed. So I think that's a very, very good point about the trade war with China right now.
So going back to LAR.
Okay. When it comes to investments, I because we all I'm one of the people who I had to learn a lot of things on my own. So I'm still figuring out things, right?
Like, can you give him more of that children's Tylenol cough medicine?
Can you mute doing your mom stuff?
Sorry, I hit the video and not the thing. I'm sorry, dude.
Hey man, the kids gotta be healthy, man. I ain't mad at it. What I learned, like we look at investing as stock trading. Just trading stocks. A lot of times that's when people think of investments, they think of just stocks. And I started thinking like real estate is an investment, but it's only an investment if you're ahead of the curve. So a lot of times we look at real estate as an investment if we go into a neighborhood that's already bolstering and now they charging you top dollar to be there. But it's an investment when you go there and you got to study what you're going. What might be coming down the pipe and then get in early, pay low, sell high. That's how that's why people wind up with homes that may be $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Few years later, they're $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $1 million because they bought low technically and sold high. And and we don't look at real estate that way sometimes. And sometimes that's how y'all get people who flipping houses because they keep jumping on the next wave before it hits on the market. Because I know people who've done that. They'll buy a house, they'll sell it for, $100,000, $200,000 profit, go to another house, sell it. Same thing that goes in a couple of years. By about 10 years, 15 years go by, they just buy a house flat out cash. And they're not really doing things. The other thing I would say, when we say we don't have the money, why don't you just buy precious metals and see how much money you actually got? See, just try to buy silver. It's about what, $30-something or whatever. Just try to buy that, and once a month, and it's gonna stack up over time. Gold, that's way more expensive now, But do stuff like that to see how much money you can actually put aside to invest, because over time, the price of precious metals have always been rising. It's not just silver. Is like at some point silver is going to have to explode because everything else is ridiculous. People don't realize palladium, rhodium, platinum, like those things. You see what I'm saying? At some point, it's got to even catch up with those things. They have to,
right?
And it'll be okay. You did something. Then when it comes to stocks, I know people. If you're going to invest 401ks on your job, cool, do that. Make sure. As a matter of fact, I would suggest you do that to get your feet wet doing it, so you can see what it's like to grow money that's taken out of your check every day, like taxes. That you don't see.
We got to have a little fight on that one. I don't trust any government issued. Again, people know I talk about life insurance quite a bit.
Right.
I talk with Brother Michael Darker. People know I talk about investments quite a bit. I don't trust anything the company ever gives you.
No. I'm not saying to trust them. I'm saying, hey, look, because the way we're set up, we're not actually trusting ourselves to save to do it. That's the issue. Like if because when people save money, we might save money to go on a vacation. We might save money to eat out. We might save money to do something entertainment based. We don't actually take our money from our own hands on a regular basis. And it's one of those things. Now I get exactly what you're saying, because the government's gonna take your money and do whatever they want to do, and you ass out. But if you can't you need to learn how to treat yourself like the government, is what I'm trying to say.
I had a client I was talking to earlier, and I was talking to her about paying yourself first.
We don't do that. And it's sad to say that, but we don't. When we pay ourselves first, we pay ourselves first for entertainment purpose. Let me pay myself first so I can get tickets to this game. Let me pay myself first so I can, get a better car. We're not paying ourselves first to say, you know what? And this is how I know. I learned two things about trading very early. One from Sesame Street, actually, and one from I think I want to say Steve Stout. And the two lessons was, if you got $100 and you buy a 10-cent stock and it goes to like $10, if it's a penny stock or something, when it goes to $10, you make a lot of money. A lot of money. And we don't look at it that way. Like, you know what? If you could research things and say, okay, man, this is worth 10, 20 cents. Nobody saw Netflix. Nobody saw Amazon. Nobody took that into consideration.
And here's the thing. I talk about, I'm like, instead of picking stocks, instead of thinking I'm going to pick this winner, learn what mutual funds are. Learn how to do what I call what everybody calls diversification. Hey, if I've only got, let's say you're going to save 20% of your income, put 5% in cash, 5% in a mutual fund, 5% into a cryptocurrency, 5% into, I don't know, I'm going to buy that pair of sneakers I wanted, but I'm going to see if I can buy them low and sell them high.
That's drop shipping.
Exactly. That's the thing that we're not looking at investments as something that gives us options. We're looking at it as a one-stop shop.
Hold on. Palladium is better than gold currently. Go ahead and tell us why in the comments. And Uncle Ladrunius, he said something that's going to keep me honest. He said you can't invest until you're debt free. Before I go into addressing that comment, does anybody else want to give us an investment?
I collect silver art rounds, troy ounces, 0.999 pure bullion coins, just because I'm a pirate.
What do you call those? Silver what?
4-ounce silver art rounds. They're basically not like monetary stamp coins like the stuff that would be on a quarter or Walking Liberty. They put different designs. I have some that are pieces of 9, like from a pirate ship. I have some that are Cleopatra. I have some that are the Zodiac.
But if push comes to shove, you could actually just trade that as silver.
Yep.
Nice. I knew a guy, because I'm a prepper as well, who had gold, and he would every month he'd take a little bit of his salary and buy some gold. And because he was a prepper and he also enjoyed guns, they're not always the same thing. Who was opening some Cheetos in the background with the loud noise?
It wasn't me this time.
Somebody else. I'm sorry.
Hey, Watt, I gotta take off, Watt, but thanks for having me, man.
Ed, the door's always open for you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, finally nice to share a panel with you, LAR, man. It's real cool, man. Love watching your stuff. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, what he would do is he would melt down his gold into just ugly, unfinished round pieces, spray it with spray-on, spray glue that you use for art projects, roll it around in the dirt in his backyard, throw it in the garden. There's no way for you to distinguish his chunk of gold from a random piece of dirt. And that's where he kept just a pirate treasure. Now, hold on. Lori, can I get a link?
Yep. Yep.
Well, here's the thing, Lori. I'm more than happy to send you a link if you want to email me. But here's the thing. If you come on, I'm going to ask you to turn your camera on because for the sake of the conversations that we have, we like to interact with each other, looking into each other's eyes, and being part of the conversation. I don't know how you personally feel about that. If you're okay with that, my email is YusefWateef@gmail.com. If you want me to send you a link, I'm more than happy to send it there. I know some people just don't like showing their face. Every now and then somebody like Ruby will step away for a minute and come back. But that's how we communicate. It makes the conversation, in my opinion, a lot easier. Has anyone else found that when you have conversations with people and they're looking at each other, the conversations go a lot smoother?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all trained to read body language. That's why that happens. I mean, I've got a crew of friends here helping me. We were working on an outdoor project when I joined the call, so I've been trying to avoid folks in the camera. But were those art bars? What was that? You pulled up silver?
Yeah.
LAR?
Yeah, the bullion.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those too.
The reason I did it, I said, because when he said show something, some of y'all don't realize you might mess around and go to Tiffany's and buy an $800 necklace or a bracelet that's maybe 2 or 3 of these.
Right.
So currently they'll be $18 a piece, but you'll spend $800 for a damn or a bracelet with it. So understand, this is how people are getting played. So
I like the coins because I can clink them together.
I like coins so I can clink them together. Okay, now let me go back up. I want to go back up the chat because Uncle Adunia said something very critical. He said, you can't invest until you're debt free. Here's where I'm of two minds. Actually, let me back up. LAR, let's do it this way. Let everybody else get a chance to go in first. I'm going to check my email to see if Iori666 had a link for me, a message for me. Go ahead.
I understand the logic, but the problem is the vast majority of Americans are in debt. And the thing about that is you don't necessarily nowadays need to be debt-free to invest. Now, you need to be a smart investor because you can't put yourself in more debt. But if you can invest in yourself and invest in your health, then you can invest in your wealth. And you're going to be at a deficit if you're overweight and you're trying to invest in your health. If you're in a deficit financially, you need to take some of that money, because debt and broke is two different things. If you're destitute, you don't have any money to do anything. If you're in debt, you have some way to generate money to pay down that debt. So you just might have to scale back some things in your lifestyle to invest.
Okay, I understand, because again, I'm of that split mind.
Yeah, I disagree. I guess technically I agree with Uncle here. See, the thing is, to me, hold on, I'm trying to turn the light back on. I had to take a break from the light because me and light don't get along very well. Anyway,
Did you feel about the kind of light where you can turn the lights any color you want?
Yeah, I didn't get that as of yet, because I still prefer just functioning in the dark altogether. Like, I can see, like, it's weird. It's like I have night vision. I can see perfectly fine in the dark, like in almost pitch blackness. I can see just fine.
That you are part spawn.
I am. See, that's why I'm not worried about the zombie and vampire apocalypses and stuff, because I'm pretty sure I'm one of them. Anyway, so the reason why. Yeah, but my thing is this, right? I mean, I watched my mom go from us cutting up every single piece of plastic she had while she bawled her eyes out, and I sprinkled all the cards outside the window as we were driving. She literally did not have $3 on any one of her 500 million cards, but gas in her car to go, put her tail between her legs and borrow money from her mother, which involves begging. I watched her literally in 3 years. She went from that state to being entirely out of debt and purchasing a home. So, her credit was terrible. She was just so in debt, so if you buckle down and you actually are shifting your priorities at this point, and you've decided that, hey, buying new Jordans and new this and new that and keeping up with the Joneses every week is not your priority anymore, and you're starting to care about your future and your financial health and stability, I think the first thing and your first priority should be getting yourself out of these massive amounts of debt. Now, there are certain types of debt that I do think are acceptable. For example, something like a house where, as you're paying it off, you are building equity within your house. You know what I mean? So worst comes to worst, you can take out a second mortgage or whatever it is, but it's still, it's an asset, right? So it's one thing to invest in an asset, and a tangible asset like a house, like a home, which I actually think people should always be aiming to own, not to rent. But I do think there's a difference between that and, say, doing the investments in the stocks and bonds and stuff like that. So I do think, it's not that hard. Buckle down for a few months, for a few years, come up with a really good plan, maybe a debt consolidation plan, something like that. Work with a community of people that is within your community, so they're not sitting there just trying to take you for a ride. That's actually what my mom did. And you know what, in a few years you can be out of that crippling debt, and you can have a little bit of financial freedom at that point. You're used to taking that money that you were paying every month towards paying off your debt, take that money and put it into savings and put it into investments and whatever at that point.
Uncle Dunius just said, if you invest money while you owe money, you're technically investing somebody else's money. That's one of those logical fallacies that sounds clever, but it's not, because you're still investing money that you owe.
But I mean, like, that one of the things you have to take into account, really, like now, I mean, because so many people, especially in the States, still have like student loan debt, just to say, and I mean, like, that's obviously a debacle that everybody's trying to get out from under. But if you still, even if you're paying on your student loan debt, that's not going away for most people because of the way the interest rates have been working. So you're not supposed to, if you are paying on your bills. So to me, it doesn't seem logical to not also squirrel back what you can. But you're not supposed to be using every single cent you have for that.
No, but see, that's part of the issue. And that's where people screw themselves. And actually, a lot of people, credit cards, everybody, set it up in such a way that they tell you, oh, here's your minimum payment. But they set up that minimum payment so that way you are paying them forever. So this is where you should be working with someone, if you can't figure it out yourself, to pay way above that. You should not be paying the minimum payment, because you're going to be paying that credit card off for 10 years, right? By adding maybe even 20 extra bucks on top of that, you'll have that credit card paid off in 8 months. But people aren't looking at that, and a lot of people aren't financially literate. So now, I'm not suggesting if you went to school for a very long time, so you accumulated a lot of debt, I'm not suggesting, well, until you pay off your student loans, that you can't do anything else financially, right? Because again, there are some debts that we understand were more of an investment. School is one of them. I'm talking about when you are in credit card debt. You have a whole bunch of credit cards run up. Like, you rented your couch. Technically, it's one of those rent to own things.
That's all crap.
Yeah, people get themselves tens of thousands of dollars into crap debt. And that's the debt that I'm talking about. You need to sit there and buckle down and get yourself out of this waste debt first before you're doing that.
That's supposed to be like short-term debt or whatever. It's not supposed to be something that you pay on a couch for 2 years. That doesn't make any sense.
But people are doing that. People are putting goddamn weave on layaway, okay? So what I'm saying,
girl, you can order weave cheap from China. It just takes 2 extra weeks. It's fine.
Right.
No,
so what I'm saying is,
no, it's not fine. It's not fine.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
I want it now. I want it now.
No, but see, that's my point. My point is that, right, if you're talking, there's different groups of financial literacy, I guess you could say. So to the financially illiterate, right, making statements to them like, yeah, it's okay for you to be in debt while you're investing means something very different to them versus someone like, say, you or me, right, where we have at least a little bit of knowledge. I don't invest, but I have some knowledge, so I can listen and know what you mean by that. You know what I mean? But they're gonna hear, well, I owe $50,000 to credit cards, but I should start investing in cryptocurrency. Girl, you don't have enough money to pay your bills. Like, what do you mean? You're hiding from your creditors who call you 15 times a day. You got to pay someone first. You know?
Hold on.
I understand that. Thank you for clarifying that up, because I don't know. Like, I guess you get a disconnect too when you're a little bit more salient with things. I forget that people do stuff like that. But at any rate, guys, I've got to back out of here and go do kid things and probably put some pants on my child because it's getting cold. Thank you so much for having me on the show, YusefWateef. And it's nice to meet you guys.
Let's talk soon.
We will.
All right. Nice to meet you.
You too.
I've learned this lesson quickly, that most governments and countries, and even most businesses, will make investments even if they're in debt. Now, how much? Now, when you go to a certain number, that's a bad idea. Because but that's what you were saying, Ruby. Now, like you said, I know a coworker was clowning because this lady lost her house recently, and he could see it coming a mile away, but she couldn't, because she's one of those people who's a compulsive shopper. So she just had to have everything. She had to have it. She bought this, she bought that, she bought this. She got new credit cards, bought this, bought that. And she bought so much stuff, and the credit card debt was so high, she couldn't pay her mortgage. So she lost her house. And this is the debt that a lot of us don't want to. There are too many of us who do too much. The first thing to do is live within or beneath your means. And a lot of us have a hard time with that because we want the quote unquote American dream. Everybody doesn't need a mansion. Everybody doesn't need a Benz. Everybody doesn't need all of these things to feel rich. If you want to be around rich people, here's the thing that rich people don't tell you. The stuff that they buy that's expensive to you is a drop in the bucket for them. They're not going broke buying this stuff.
It's all their percentages, and that's what I talk to people about.
Exactly. They're like that 10% rule. The guy says, you know what? If I got $10 million, a house, the most I'm gonna pay is $1 million, 10%. But a lot of us, we don't operate like that.
Well, I mean, I want to go all the way back to something you said when you said it was your mother that you helped her cut up those credit cards.
Yeah, I was 8 years old. Mm-hmm.
I have had clients leave me this is back when I was a financial professional, when I said, listen, my first thing I want to do is get rid of all your credit cards, and I want us to start looking at your budget. Now, I always told them the reason I want you to have a good budget is because I want you to be able to take what we can pull out of your budget and invest it with me. That's my goal. Whole life insurance, mutual funds. But at the same time, it only benefits me to help you not have debt. I had people leave my office when I even suggested. I got into a war on this one with a couple of my friends. I did credit card hell we talked about. Let me tell you what. If anybody wants to go back and watch that bloodbath that I was having to fight with,
you know, you just said something that reminded me about something. A lot of us don't understand the difference between whole life and term life. And we'll take term life because it's a shorter it's a smaller payment, and it has quote unquote a bigger payout at times. But a whole life payment is something you can borrow against if you need it in time. A whole life payment is something that can pay you back
without paying taxes on it. Most people don't know that either.
So a lot of times, oh man, why? And a lot of times we don't take into consideration stuff like this. You should be young. A whole life policy. You know, a lot of times what happens is people wind up with term life policies because you're 40 years old, you just thought about buying life insurance, and now the rate is too high for you. It ain't in your budget. But if you do it when you're in your 20s, oh man, you know, that costs too much. No, it don't. It costs you just as much to go to a club on the weekends or to a restaurant on the weekends. And then that expense, you got to remember, it's gonna be out of your pocket and you don't even know it.
Yep, exactly.
Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people don't know this, but one of the ways that my clients who were financially stable maintained it generationally was by life insurance, because as soon as the child was old enough to get life insurance, they'd get life insurance, whole life insurance, dumping cash into it. 20 years later, totally paid off with an excess that you can pull money out of tax-free. But that's something that I like to believe only rich people talk about. And the life insurance is only there when you die and blah, 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 blah. I just showed you guys Life Insurance Lives, my buddy Michael Darko, who's going to come back and chat with us again. But those things, again, that's how you deal with days like when the virus is coming and everybody else is having to run on their investments and everybody else is like, oh my goodness. Because by the way, the reason that the Dow goes down, the reason the market goes down is no one has any money to buy. No store can stay open whether you're selling stocks and bonds or bottles of water if nobody has any money. So what does the store do? They have to lower the price, right? And that one guy down the road that wasn't buying when everybody else was, who just put his money away consistently, that same percentage. Yeah. That's me taking advantage of you. That's my cold, icy hand tapping you on the wallet saying, look, feels a little light back there. Why don't you go ahead and let me take that off your hands for less money than you bought it for, but you need cash. So, yeah.
You know what's funny? I remember I was about I wasn't a kid. I was definitely an adult, but like a very young adult when I found out my mom had a life insurance policy on me. And I cried. I was hurt. I was insulted. I was offended. No, I seriously was. Like, what are you betting on me dying? I was so offended by the idea that my mother, who works in the insurance industry, by the way, would have the nerve to have a life insurance policy on me, right? Like, I'm like, well, you want to kill me off? Like, there was just so many things that went through my head because I'm like, it just felt so unnatural that you would get a life insurance policy on your kids unless you wanted them to die so you could benefit from it. Like, that's the way my mind thought. Now, remember, I'm talking about what my mother did to me. So it's obviously not something I was indoctrinated in the opposite thought process, right? So it goes to show you that I'm clearly the mentality or lack thereof of understanding things like insurance and the importance and when you get it and so on and so forth has translated, across the Black community, even here. Right. And so we don't get it because I didn't get it. I was really upset. Like, this was like a thing, like not telling me I was adopted or something. Like, I was really upset and hurt by this. Right. And I realized after the fact, it's because no one has a life insurance policy. No one ever talks about that when people's brothers or whatever got shot or died or whatever. It was like, okay, guys, let's go find money, collect money for the funeral and stuff. And because, you don't plan for your kids to die. right? And I didn't see it as it being even just a fiscally responsible thing to do. I didn't see it that way. I saw it more as like a you're banking on me dying kind of thing. You know, and so it's so funny you said, oh no, there are other benefits and advantages. So I'm like, I didn't even see the benefit or advantage of just having it, period. You know, and I think that that shows you, and I'm from, you know, Canada, where, you know, you might think things are a little bit different because, you know, we know having things like insurance are important because we have, you know, universal health care and that's incredibly important to us and whatever. So you think we might understand, but we don't still.
And again, I think that goes to more of a, and we talked about this in another issue, and I know some people wanted to be mad about it, but this is also, I'm going to say a word. Feel free to sharpen your knives, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that class is a word we're not supposed to talk about or use. It's a class issue because class and wealth aren't the same thing. People of a certain class understand how money is used. People of a certain class don't. See, like money over class, that part right there. We had a good discussion on that one. I hope everybody gets to go back even piece by piece and look at it. But yeah, little things like that matter. And when you come up in a situation, and I worked in the investment insurance industry, you'd be amazed. Most people who understand how money works, there was a question here that I want to Green Machine. Depends on your state. He asked, how old do you have to be to get whole life insurance? With us, I think if the baby was more than 6 months old, it could be starting ramped up by then if it was a healthy 6-month-old baby. And it goes up a little bit, but we would have it by the time they're 18 years old. That money is either A, just going to be put away for later, or B, be a significant chunk of their education. And it just goes over and over. And they never kill the policy because the other unfortunate reality is you don't know when somebody's going to die. This kid could be 26 years old with a new wife and a new baby and a new house and get hit by a bus. Now what? Oh, I didn't think I needed life insurance till my kid was a little older. Too bad. But I'm not going to get on that rant.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing that I just thought about when you were saying that. When you do things like life insurance, it's probably the first time you come in to the realization about beneficiaries. Or if you talk about a will, you have to plan this stuff out. And a lot of times we look at life like, you know, we're going to live forever and we skip past the details. A lot of people who have their stuff together have planned out their death also. Mm-hmm. So they don't have all of these shenanigans that go on.
Right.
And a lot of us, you know, if you get kids, you got kids, they're your beneficiaries automatically. But if they're your beneficiaries, you got to think to yourself, I might have to do a will because if I die and they're young, I need to put this money in a trust before somebody else gets a hold of it. Like they're looking out for them because they're the adults in the situation who bleed them dry. You got to
read that. Read what he just said when you talked about shenanigans.
GoFundMe's.
The new life insurance.
You know, this is a problem. It's a major problem. And I remember I had a older coworker. He told me early. He says, "Look, let me tell you something. Get all the insurance you can get, because you never know when you need it." And I thought about it like, yeah, because my friends, we go play basketball. Your homeboy twists his ankle. I don't want to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Say, bro, you might need to go. You know, you see people. You can't go to the. A lot of people get their teeth pulled because they don't have dental insurance, and that's the cheapest thing to do. So
I've lived outside of that United States for more than half my adult life. And I often have to talk to my friends there to realize how much of a hellhole it is for the wealthiest country in the history of recorded history to still charge people for medicine because they're the only ones that do. In every other country, you might pay more for your computer or your phone, but medicine is not seen as a revenue generator. That's the story. Let me say something real quick. I might have to start a fight. Sincere One says, you have to know what you want of your insurance. I agree. You can have multiple policies. I agree. Term is good if you have a family and kids that are not income producing. I disagree, but we're not going to argue that here. You're more than welcome to email me just like anybody else. If you want a link to come up, we can have another discussion. I'm more than happy to have you come on and I can explain to you point by point why you're wrong. But I say that to say this: I'm welcome to listen to you if you can make a clear, rational decision, and we'll use that. If you have a family and kids, let's say if you have a wife and children, I'm more than happy to listen. More than happy for you to listen how to rationalize to me why whole life insurance is not far better than term.
You can just get both. How about that? Get both.
You do both with the intention of converting the term to whole,
right.
But at the same time, when you get your life insurance is important, and it's impossible to have a conversation about wealth and financial security and investments without talking about life insurance. Because what people don't also talk about with their life insurance, now is that time when that guy who didn't have an investment fund, who might go to his insurance policy and say, look, my cousin LAR and YusefWateef, heard them talking about putting money away. I noticed the cost of investments across the board are down. Maybe now is my chance to get in and figure out how much every month I want to put in, because now that same dollar cost averaging, which is what I advocate, you decide what percentage of your income you're going to save. And the only second question is, how are you going to break it up? Are you going to break it up into mutual funds and bonds? Are you going to break it up into stocks and cryptocurrency? But okay, we're treading on dangerous ground here. Also, never put a child as the beneficiary of life insurance. They'll require an ad litem and a conservatorship appointed. I'm going to say, if you can give me a specific state and county you're talking about, but this is where I have to go back into my old-fashioned mode of being when I was a financial professional that was licensed by the federal and state government. I have to tell you what you're saying may be true where you are, but we're going to have to go specific if we're going to give that as general advice. Making a child a beneficiary in some instances is the right thing. In other instances, making your financial institution the caretaker of that money is the better thing. But what we can't do is say you can't leave your child as a beneficiary. That's where things get squirrely.
That's why I said earlier, you have to have you might want to have a will if that's the case. Because if you don't make your child a beneficiary, who knows?
Hey guys,
it's kind of like power of attorney.
Sorry about that. Hold on. Let me turn my monitor off. I got computer blue light blocker glasses on. Hold on one second.
Well, before I say anything disrespectful, I was going to ask if you were blind.
No, it's because I had eye surgery and I'm sitting next to a 50-inch monitor. So
put the shades back on then.
Yeah.
Put the shades back on. Jeez.
That's why.
You usually wonder, why are you even in front of the monitor? How about don't play on the computer when you just had eye surgery?
No, I can basically do it, but you have to have blue blocker glasses on when you're in front of monitors. That's all. Go ahead. Continue, guys.
Well, you've been listening from the sideline. Go ahead and throw your nickel on the pile. You might want to adjust your camera.
Well, it's because I'm holding it, because there's no stand, right? So I'm holding it as I'm talking to you. That's why.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a Logitech camera, and since I don't have a stand, it's basically one of those kinds of things. But going back to what LAR was talking about, it's super easy to get into precious metals, because precious metals is the one asset class that you can basically go into establishments and buy, right? Like, and the thing is, it's pretty simple. Like, you've got your spot price, and depending on what type of metal you're buying, whether it's palladium, whether it's silver, whether it's gold, they're going to have a specific amount above spot price. And technically, that's probably the easiest asset for people to get into, because a lot of people get really intimidated by stocks. They almost think that it's like too hard or certain things like that. Sometimes when I talk to them about charting and different things about going long and short and stuff like that,
we're getting deep on them though. We want to be careful. You don't want to scare kids away.
Right.
Now we're talking charting. I mean,
right.
Charting is, you already opened that can.
Oh, right. What I'm saying is that it's easier for a lot of people to start with precious metals, because one, it's a physical asset. You can hold it in your hand. You can see it. It's easier to build wealth with, because to be honest, silver's like around 1750 to 18 bucks. And right now, silver is really underpriced considering what's happening to gold, because you'll have $40 or $50 moves in gold because of what's happening in coronavirus. The problem with precious metals is, unless there's some kind of economic uncertainty that happens, they pretty much stay flat. You don't get the type of movement out of precious metals on a normal market base that you will with stocks or crypto. But really, it just depends on, to be honest, what your risk tolerance is, what your age is, what kind of lifestyle you're looking for, and whether you can really deal with moves. Like in the last 2 days, we've had an 1,800 point move in the Dow, right?
Hold on,
And
go to the Dow. Tell them what a spot price is, because looking at it on the screen.
let me get my phone out, bro. 1 second. I'll tell you.
No, I have it on the screen. Just tell them what it means.
Oh, well, the spot price basically means that that's what silver is trading at in terms of the future contracts and stuff like that. Now, when you buy silver or gold or palladium, there's going to be an amount above spot, depending on whether you're getting a round, whether you're getting like a different type of coin. And that's stuff that you can basically figure out by basically calling precious metal brokers in your area, because they basically have different rates for that. That's all.
That's a very good. Oh, but wait. Zachary One said, I purchased some Litecoin about 2 years ago, double my investment in less than 2 months. Let's not all think that's going to happen to us, because I always tell people I don't want people looking at any money until they can put their money away for at least 5-year minimum.
Sure.
Put this 100 away. But he says so many different investment vehicles. I'd like to get into metals. We need to have an investment jamboree on this channel one day. You know what it is, Yusef? Before people get into investments, you've got to figure out what type of person you are in terms of investments, because depending on the type of person you are and your tolerance of risk, I can't recommend certain investments for you because you can't handle the heat on some of these investments, and some people can, right? It's a personal thing, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to go.
Go ahead, LAR.
No, I'm gonna have to go. I gotta talk to my father.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Priorities.
All right.
Talk
to
you
later,
soon, bro.
LAR.
Bye, y'all.
Hey,
Peace.
LAR, I tagged you on Facebook. Make sure you share this.
Got you.
Later.
Got you. You got it.
There we go. All right. So what you were saying is, for some people, their inability to deal with that short-term instability, it might mean they shouldn't have been in the first place. I mean, we all have our own cutoff points, like if I lose more than a certain percentage. But I see people, ready to poop kittens when after 6 months of investment, they see some shaky ground and they're like, I want out. I'm like, okay, but
well, I mean, especially in this market, if you're in stocks or different types of investments, you have to be ready if you're getting into investing for a decent amount of risk, because we've had a bull market for a long time, depending on what investment class you're talking about. The other thing is, if you're not willing to put time in to the equation to grow your stake and grow your wealth, investing might not be for you until you can really understand that time is a factor for all this stuff. It's time and risk that are the two big things that a lot of people have to understand and be comfortable with.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Most people, they only get the education they do about investments and what may affect investments off television programs, and not financial professionals, because they think that it's it's past them. It's something they can't learn. But I'm
Sure.
glad we have situations like this where we can actually sit down together and go over what those things do, what those things may entail. Because as much as I have fun talking about what if this coronavirus is the next what's it called? Zombie virus. Right?
Pandemic, the next pandemic. Yeah.
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 I'm okay with also using that as a vehicle to say, hey, how can I sneak us into talking about the importance of investments, the importance of looking at the market the way it is now. Now, are you
Sure.
gonna buy the dip?
Oh, I've been buying the dip, honestly.
Oh, really? You've been knee deep.
Because to me, and this is what I'll tell people about buying the dip. Buying the dip is for experienced investors that understand where the price floor is on the given investment that they're looking at. Okay. So buying the dip has to do with a couple of factors for me. Do I believe in the investment, in this case, the stock? Do I think that the downside risk can be controlled because of support levels in the stock? And number three, do I want to average my cost down to actually get a better cost basis on my investment? That's it. That's all. It's simple.
I feel like we say it's simple, but people just don't believe us.
Oh, right. Well, because a lot of people don't necessarily put in the type of hours that you need to really understand this stuff, right? Like when I'm sitting on an ADR, which is an international investment, sometimes I'm up at midnight because of time differences and different stuff like that, reading reports, this, that, and the other. You know, I know what my investments are supposed to do because I pay attention to the news that relates to everything geopolitical, everything relating to my investment. You know, it's not a set it and forget it type of issue for me.
Hmm.
So, you know,
well, but
for what it's worth.
But before we have to log off, I want to tell somebody else. I want to tell everybody something else they need to be reading up on. And I surprised myself by not doing this earlier. But Brother BK from the Rockies, he said to make sure tell everybody to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing is important because that's how this channel grows. But I also want to show people I'm not a YouTuber. I don't make any money off YouTube. I'm an editor, resume writer, ghostwriter. I do things with coaching people for English who do TED Talks, things of that nature. I've been writing a lot of resumes lately. I'll tell you what, I don't know what's going on in the United States. But what I tell people is this is who I really am. My name is YusefWateef. But when I go down, if you connect with me on LinkedIn or look me over on LinkedIn, skip the resume part first. That's important, but not as important is the only thing I have that really makes a difference is my reputation. And look at the recommendations that I've been given by other professionals that I've worked with. These are people that will testify that I am who I say I am and I can do the things that I say I can do. And having said that, feel free to contact me here or there. I want to start wrapping up. I honestly think we might be giving these people, Sincere One said, are you a day trader?
Sometimes. Most of the time I'm a swing trader. So these type swing, it's time frame. A day trader can be somebody who's in a stock for 10 minutes, somebody who's in a stock for an hour, somebody who's in a stock beginning of the day till the middle of the day, beginning of the day till the end of the day. And a swing trader works on the move. So when a stock recedes because of earnings, because of news, because of overall market conditions, and somebody like me sees a buying opportunity because I've paid attention to the price action for these stocks, I'll get in on Monday and buy at the bottom, knowing that there's going to be a bounce, and I might hold it that day and basically continue, or I might sell it. If I decide to sell it, I turned it into a day trade. If I decide to keep it and see what the other couple days look like, knowing where the supports are, that's a swing trade. A swing trade lasts past a day trade. So if you're holding it for 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, because you got to understand that moves a lot of times last for a week to 10 days, at least sometimes. You can buy a stock at 31 after everybody's been piling out of it because there's a lot of panic selling. And once the dust settles, you'll get in at 31, and by the next week you might be at 35. But it all deals with monitoring your trade. You got to monitor it every day and understand what you're getting into. Like I
we
said,
need to have a day where we can sit down, talk about this, and really go deep into it. That's what we need to do. Ruby, I want to say thank you for stopping by and adding something constructive for a change. Yori, I'm glad that you popped in, even at the sacrifice of your new cybernetic implants.
Oh,
like the one topic I don't know almost anything about. Now it's finally something constructive when I'm adding my like 7 years of schooling. Oh, no. That wasn't constructive additions at all. You see? I see how much my knowledge base is valued.
Maybe your
Okay.
education wasn't as valuable as you thought it was.
Ignorant. No, but if I could just give a closing thought here, and this is the important thing is
Hold on, I'll give you a close up. There you go. Look, there you go.
oh yay, look at me. Let me make sure I look all right. Okay. Oh no, that perfect. Okay. For real. So the thing is, right, and we have to recognize that if you are literally at financial illiteracy, you're less than ground zero. You're honestly like a lot of the Black community right now. This is not a thing to be ashamed of, but it is something to be aware of. And I don't want you to be one of those people who jumps on the advice and the movements of someone who wasn't born and raised into that financial illiteracy, or who has done a lot of work already to get themselves overall in their lives in a much more stable place than yours currently is. Because what ends up happening is it will end up being a fail for you. The things that work for them will fail for you because you don't understand that there's a lot of other, stability and foundation that they've set up in their lives otherwise, as far as their financials, as far as their spending habits, as far as their priorities, and income as well is a big deal. So and I'm glad Yusuf brought it up a few times where he did say like, hey, let's not talk about numbers, because $100 to one person might not even be anything, and to you it might be like, God, that's so much money. So I think we have to recognize, first of all, where we're at, and where our priorities should be on this, this kind of financial literacy journey, and, where our priorities should be, because, we need to be financially stable and secure. That needs to be, first and foremost. A lot of us have lived in financial scarcity our whole lives, paycheck to paycheck. Like, you're sitting there and like, how the hell are you going to feed yourself for the last 4 days between paychecks? Like, a lot of people are in that place, and you want to get out of that. And getting out of that is not, well, I'll just go and take some money that I don't have to spend on anything and invest it in stocks and bonds. It's not going to help feed your children now, right? So it's like other habits, other things need to change and to be tweaked. And you got to kind of start at the bottom, start where you're at, fix that, and then continue building, and recognize that, maybe somewhere along the lines, some of this should be like a target for you eventually.
Sure.
So I just wanted to say that.
Sure. Yeah. What I would say for people that are looking into investments and looking into investing, regardless of whatever asset class you're talking about, take it seriously and put the time in, and also what I'll say is, don't be afraid to invest into education, to learn this stuff, because that's the one thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to as much. We live in a YouTube culture sometimes where we're always trying to figure out how to do everything on the quick and on the cheap, but sometimes figuring things out and taking the time to really bathe yourself in the markets and bathe yourself in the asset class to really understand what's going on means a lot more than doing anything else. That's all.
Well, I say that to say this. I say thank you to everybody, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. I'm looking forward to having this kind of conversation with more and more people more and more often. So have a good night, everybody. And BK from the Rockies left us a parting shot. Self-education is always, always a great investment.